Hey guys, it's time for me to talk about my top three shows of the week. And my third pick for this week is Arrow. And it was a good episode. I really enjoyed it, but it had a really great ending. And Slade Wilson finally came face to face with Oliver. And he was introduced by none other than his mom, which was crazy. I cannot wait to see what happens next week when the battle ensues between the two of them. We also found out why Sarah and Sin had been close in the past. And through a flashback to the island, we found out that a plane had crashed and the pilot was actually Sin's father. And he was telling Sarah a story about his daughter, who was now basically going to be an orphan if he died. And when Sarah came back to Starling City, it looks like she looked up Sin and has been sort of like her big sister since she got back. And so it was nice to see them have that moment together at the end when, she tells her, I already have a big sister, but I have room for a little one too. And so that was a great reveal. Laurel and Oliver had an amazing argument in the hallway, which I think was very crucial for Laurel's, you know, her realization that it's not just all about her. Yes, she was betrayed. Yes, she has been hurt over these last 5 or 6 years. She has no idea why her sister never contacted her, but it isn't all about her. And Oliver putting her in her place was awesome. And the rest of the episode was good too. We had a good villain for the story of the week who was also sort of a threat to Felicity. And he had equal parts villain, equal parts computer tech savvy, and Felicity was feeling threatened in her position in the group, and watching her try to fight and be as badass as Sarah was cute. And then her struggling with the fact that this villain was always getting the one up on her, and then at the end she ends up saving Sarah by taking a bullet for her. And ultimately this allows her to feel like she's part of the team, and gave her some really great scenes with Oliver, as well as Diggle, as well as Sarah. So I'm really liking the way that the direction the show is going in. I can't wait to see what new villain they bring on next week and how this whole season is going to play out. My second show of the week is Scandal. Oh, with its return, I was just so excited. And, I was hoping that I wasn't going to put too much into the return of the show, but this show never disappoints me. And with this episode, it's setting up all the pieces to the end of the puzzle that's going to happen in the next 8 episodes. And we find out that Sally Langston is going to run for against Fitz, and of course everybody's freaking out. Melly's freaking out. Cyrus is freaking out, and they've got to figure out a way to take her down. So so Olivia is now the campaign manager back on the Grant administration, and she's gonna do whatever she can to dig up dirt on Sally, and they're starting with the lack of autopsy done on her husband. So that's going to be interesting because we all know that Sally and Cyrus have a hand in this, and ultimately Sally is the one who killed her husband, and Cyrus is the one who helped cover it up. So that's going to be very interesting. We had Quinn, God, kidnap a child in order to hide the fact that the autopsy was covered up, and the reason for not doing a full autopsy on on Sally's husband. So that was kind of extremely creepy. We found out who Adnan Salif is, and it's actually a woman. And Harrison got to get down and dirty with her. So, anytime Harrison can get some screen time makes me very happy. So we'll see where this storyline goes and how it plays out. Hopefully, it's not going to feel too hokey, but it'll really add to the landscape of the show. We also got to touch base with Jake, who is now the head of command, and is basically telling Charlie that Quinn will never be a part of B613, so any hopes he has for that, he better get rid of them. And we also know now that Jake and Olivia are going to fake date because Melly, who is amazing, basically called a fake lunch for her and Olivia to sit down together because pretty much, the Olivia Fitz relationship is back in the media again, and they're like headline news. They're on the cover of every magazine, every newspaper, and Melly needs to squash this. So she invites Olivia out to dinner or to lunch, and they have this fake, oh, well, I would never have lunch with my mistress if I thought that, or with a Fitz's mistress if I knew about it, blah, 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 blah. So in that lunch date, she hands Olivia an envelope with a list of names of eligible bachelors for her to date. And so, of course, Olivia's like, man, you want me to date somebody just for public, for the public to see? And Molly's like, yeah, you need to get away from my man. So, of course, she then turns to Jake after this really interesting conversation about, being a patriot and how much, you respect the Republic and all this kind of stuff, and how they've all lost a piece of their soul trying to, protect this country and do what's right for this country, and how, he's probably going to turn out just as bad as her dad is because her dad never started out as horrible as he is now. And, she's afraid for him. And speaking of Olivia's dad, oh my God, that scene on the bench when he basically rips a strip off of his daughter and he tells her to run for her life away from Fitz, it's crazy. If he does not win an Emmy, I'm just saying, this man is killing it in every single scene he's in, and it's ridiculous. So that was awesome. We didn't really have much of of Huck in this episode, but that was okay. But all in all, it was a great episode. And then by the end, now Grant is having to look to see who he's going to ask to be his VP when he runs for the next election. And so he's turned to a guy who he ran with as when he was running for governor. And that's Andrew Nichols. And it's going to be very interesting because this man is in love with Melly. And he has been over the last 12 years. And this is clearly before Olivia and Fitz got together. So what happened back in the day? Oh, I can't wait for the flashbacks. And what is this going to mean moving forwards? Will Fitz get jealous? I mean, listen, Fitz isn't the only one who can have all this fun. And I am actually happy that Melly will be getting some attention from somebody who actually really cares about her. Because let's face it, Fitz is the worst husband ever. And he's even the worst boyfriend ever. The way that him and Olivia were just like at each other's throat in this episode, I was not a fan. But the fact is that they have such amazing chemistry on screen together, so that whenever they're together, you're like, oh my God, you can't help but want to see them just like rip each other's clothes off. But at the same time, he's got to still be a nice guy. And 9 times out of 10, Fitz is not. So we'll see what goes down when this season closes out its last 8 episodes. Now, we didn't really have much about Olivia's mom, but we know that she's out there. We know that people are trying to track her down. Jake, it's like mission number 1 for Jake to find her mom. And we'll see what happens when Mama Pope shows her face again. So that is my number 2 pick for this week. And my number 1 pick is The Walking Dead. So, guys, I'm really liking the way that the show has decided to sort of focus on just a few characters each week. I mean, I know that we're not going to be able to do this for much longer because, one, it's good when the whole group is together, I'll be honest. But we're able to get a little bit more character development out of these guys when it's a little bit fewer characters on screen. And this week, my heart was in my throat every single time Rick was on screen and he was hiding under that bed from other human beings. And that's the part of this show that's getting crazy for me, that we are no longer, we are terrified of the zombies, but we know how to kill them. But it's that you're afraid of other humans. And his first reaction, obviously when he's sleeping, he hears a bit of an argument going on downstairs. So he can tell that these guys aren't going to be like, hey, how you doing? You want to come join our group? And that they're a little bit scary. So his first reaction is to hide under the bed and steer clear of these guys. And as they're checking through for the room, all we're getting is the point of view of Rick from looking under the bed. And then we're getting the point of view from like out the exterior of the room looking under the bed. Like, it's just so intense. And then these guys are fighting and like they're even choking each other for the bed space. It's crazy. And the fact that Rick then gets out from under the bed and then he stumbles into the bathroom where one of the guys is sitting on the toilet with no shoes and his pants up. I don't really understand that. But they get into a fight. He kills him. Rick gets out the house. It was completely just like you were on the edge of your seat the whole time. And then last week when I did my review, I was saying that there was a zombie in the house and I didn't know how he got in. But obviously, when Rick killed the guy in the bathroom, he left the door open on purpose so that he would know, so that he would be able to get out of the bathroom and then he would attack people in the house. I mean, that is just brilliant, right? Come on. That is just Rick at his best. So that is what happened. The zombie comes out, and right as Rick's about to jump and take out one of the guys that's sitting on the porch because he sees his son and and Michonne coming, and he's got to protect them, obviously. So he's right about to attack them when you hear the screaming inside the house. You hear a couple gunshots go off, and the zombie has attacked them. I thought that was just great. So the three of them head off running, and they end up on the train tracks. And of course, they see a sign for sanctuary. Ugh. Guys, I don't know what this place is going to turn out to be, but they're heading there anyway. So it seems like they're heading in that direction. Obviously, Tyrese and Carol, the two sisters, Lizzie, crazy Lizzie, and her sister Mika, and then of course Judith are all heading to Sanctuary. So when they have that reunion, that will be nice. The other storyline that we had going on was with Glenn and Tara, and then the three new people, and we found out who they were and what they're all about. And they're basically trying to get to DC, and because one of them is a scientist and he knows what caused this zombie apocalypse in the first place. So they're trying to get there so that they can save the world. And of course, Glenn is like, what world is there worth saving if I don't have the woman that I love? So he basically gets into a huge fight with them. He tries to storm off, and then a zombie start attacking. They shoot up the truck. The truck's dead. Now they're all heading back 3 hours in the direction that they just drove away from. So, that storyline was a little, yeah, it was okay. But you just see Glenn will do whatever it takes to get back to his wife, Maggie. And it was nice to see Tara stick with him and let him know that she didn't get in this truck so that they could get away, but it was just because he had passed out and they needed to get off the road, and that she'll stick with him and that she'll help him get back to Maggie. So that was kind of nice. Where this storyline is going to go, we can only imagine, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. But again, this episode was a really good thrill ride. A lot of scary, intense moments with Rick. And then we also had some nice bonding moments with Michonne and Carl again. So, she told Carl that she had a 3-year-old son named Andre, and, Carl was really interested to know more information. So they had this little cat and mouse game where, she said, you can ask me any question you want just after we clear a room. After we clear this room, and da-da-da-da. And so, they had some nice moments between the two of them. And then one of the creepier moments in this episode was when she walked into one of the bedrooms. It was this bright pink bedroom, and basically the entire family had killed themselves in this room so that they would not have to be turned into zombies. So it was another really sad realization that this is the reality that a lot of people chose, to end their lives and not go through life of fear and running and hiding and, starving themselves. So when Carl shows up and she closes the door really sneakily, he's like, is there a child in there? She's like, no, it's a dog. And then, she just wants to protect him again. She just wants to do whatever she can to protect him from what the reality, and I mean, let's face it, Carl already knows exactly what the reality is, but he just doesn't need to see it again. He doesn't need to see it over and over again. So again, some really great scenes between the two of them. And, even the scene with Rick and Michonne in the kitchen when he says, I can't be his father and his best friend. He needs you. And he says, if you feel like that's too much and you need to run, she's like, I'm done running. So it's nice that she has basically saddled in. She's here to stay. She's not going to revert back to Michonne of old days. And she's just going to keep, opening up and peeling off those layers, which are great because I have a feeling that her character is going to be really critical in this season and moving forwards. And that day, if that day ever comes and her character ends up getting chomped on or something, it's going to be a very, very sad day on this show. All right, guys, those are my top 3 picks of the week. Let me know what your top 3 shows were, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye, guys.